We're back investigating the most shocking ways people are being duped. Now it's the most popular scam that breaks hearts and bank accounts. Imagine losing $1 million from an online relationship scam. A former intelligence officer says she lost her life savings from a man who duped her all the way from Nigeria. Now, Debbie is here with what she says all women should know. Thanks for being here. I know you were recently widowed when this all started. I'm sorry for that. But when you started online, that wasn't dating, it was just online relationship building. You weren't interested in romance.
That's correct. I was looking for someone just to be a friend, a companion, someone I could talk to about Lou dying and about my life, my kids. And it was a friendship I was looking for, not anything physical. It was safe because it was at a distance.
And you were contacted by this gentleman. He called himself Eric. What did he say about himself?
He was a widower. He had a son, Kenny, he was 7. He was from London. He was kind, he was well-spoken, which was funny because most of the men that were writing online could hardly write.
Right.
It's like talking to a 5th grader.
Right.
And so he was very articulate, and he said he was well-educated. Something that I could connect with, some man I could connect with.
How would you communicate with him?
Typically by texting. Well, not texting like we text today, but it was writing.
And it was something like 4,000 messages? You actually
No, I have 4,000 pages of journal.
4,000 pages. I mean, I've looked through some of them. You have 4 of these binders full of these messages, right?
Those are actually the financial transactions, each of the financial transactions. I had kept an online journal. So I copied and pasted every email that I had, I put into a journal, and then I printed it thinking I was having family history.
One of the things that kind of stood out to me, one of the early exchanges you had, you actually said to him something along the lines of, when he was first asking you for money, either I'm an extreme fool or this is going to be a wonderful relationship. So obviously something was clicking in your brain that something wasn't right. Do you think you just ignored that or didn't want to believe it?
I'm sure I ignored it because I classify myself as one of those damn Yankees that doesn't give money away. And I was very frugal. So it was so out of character for me just to be giving money to somebody that I didn't know.
Did you ever ask to talk to him on the phone or meet him in person?
I did, and when I talked to him, he had a British accent, which played right into the whole story. He was from London, and we were supposed to meet for Christmas. And it was great. I was setting up hotel rooms, and all this was happening until the 21st of December when there was a snag in one of his transactions and a payment didn't get through, and so he wasn't able to come.
So again, I completely get this. You're just looking for connection at any level.
Correct.
And I appreciate how painful it is to have lost the man you were married to for so long, and trying to just stay in touch with the world draws you into relationships maybe you normally wouldn't have been involved in. Nevertheless, you're an intelligence officer. So that part of your brain is probably saying, check up on him. And so what did you do?
Well, my brothers told me that too when they first heard about this. They said, do background checks, do this, do that. I'm like, you guys, it's just friendship. I'm just looking for someone to be kind to me. And when he first wrote to me, it was interesting. The one thing I remember is at the end of his email, he said, you can call me Eric Cole. And I thought, that's kind of an odd way to say my name is. So I called him on it. I said, what did you mean by that? And I said, it sounded funny. He said, oh, it's franca lingua, it's the way the Brits speak. And I kind of rationalized that maybe he did say that because that's the way he does speak. And I would check things out. He would send me an address of where his son was, and I Google Earthed it. And I was an imagery analyst in the Air Force, so I was looking at all the things around the home that he said was his, and I visualized in my mind, is this the place that he's living, or could his family be there? And it all fell into place. Or when I questioned something, though, he always had a plausible answer.
They always do.
As to why.
They always do.
They always do.
They do.
Yeah, they're so convincing.
There's a playbook. They know what to
Exactly.
say. And
they're pros.
And I had no reason to not trust him. I had never heard of an issue online dating. My mom's best friend met her husband online.
But all this right now is platonic. It's pretty simple. At what point did he start asking you for money?
It started off very small at the beginning. The first time he ever asked me, he was trying to get one of his friends online. He said, if you could help him out, that'd be great. And I did that, and I guess that shows that I was willing.
It always starts small.
But it was very small.
It always starts small.
$60, $70, it was very small.
What did he say about paying you back?
He was always going to pay me back. As soon as his job, and because I have a company and I understand that sometimes you don't get paid until after the job's done,
Right.
I got that. And so when all of his expenses were coming up over there and he couldn't pay them because he hadn't been paid yet, I got it. I was helping him. He became part of my family. And I think that we would do anything for our family.
So over the course of about 2 years, you say you gave him $1 million.
Over $1 million.
Over $1 million.
And I didn't have $1 million to give. I want people to know that. Because I felt he was family, I found it. I found it through retirement accounts. I sold jewelry. I sold trees that I had, investments that I had, because it was coming back to me. There was always that, when I get there, Deb, I'll pay you back. We'll have the money in the bank. It was.
I'm asking this
wasn't a
because
gift.
I respect what you do in your day job. Obviously, you're very thoughtful about a lot of things. He claimed to be a successful businessman. In the back of your mind, did you ever wonder, how can a successful businessman not have $90 to pay for a friend, or more importantly, $1 million to pay for the bigger things that he's trying to do?
I probably had that thought, but at the beginning it was more fun. And I didn't, until the end when I added it all up, I didn't realize how much I'd actually given to him, because it was over the course of the 2 years.
Did you borrow money from your real family to give to him?
At the end I did. I borrowed from my parents, and that's the one thing that I regret the most, is that I brought them into it. And I feel terrible about that. I have paid them back. And my dad said, you know, there was a time when I questioned, but after 2 years, how can somebody lie to you for 2 years and get away with it? That's the extraordinary thing.
So coming up, the moment Debbie finally found out that she had been duped out of $1 million or more. Stay with us. We're back with LoveCon expert Benita Alexander and Debbie, a former intelligence officer who says she was duped out of more than $1 million from an online romance scam. All right, so Debbie, 2 years into this relationship, all online, with this man who you thought was named Eric. He said to call you Eric. How did you find out who he really was?
He came online one morning and said, Deb, he was writing to me, said, Deb, how do you feel about forgiveness? And so for an hour or two, I put on my spiritual hat, my scriptural hat, and I talked about forgiveness. And I said, Eric, is something wrong? Have I done something wrong that you need forgiveness? And he goes, I have something to tell you that's going to hurt you. I just needed to know that you could forgive me before I do this. And I said, you sure you want to do it? He said, I have a confession to make that this has all been a scam.
He told you.
He told me that, and I was looking at that going, are you ill? Is something wrong here? And I said, what do you mean it's been a scam? He goes, this has all been a lie. And at that point, I'm thinking, no, you're lying to me now. I said, you're gonna have to prove to me that this is a lie. And he said, I'm gonna come online live. So apparently on Yahoo Chat, there was a little camera, and this little screen on the bottom of my computer comes up, and I'm looking at a brown-haired, brown-eyed, brown-skinned young man with a huge smile on his face.
Why do you think he finally confessed? What prompted this?
I asked him, I said, why did you do this? And he said he had actually fallen in love with me. And I don't know if that's part of the scam now, but I hope that some of my goodness over the last 2 years had rubbed off and his conscience finally got to him. Because he actually said, can we keep this going? And of course I'm thinking, no, absolutely not. I didn't have any money to continue it anyway, but he wanted to continue the friendship. And when I saw his face, it was a gift from God, I think, that in an instant, my story and my heart were disconnected from my Eric, because I'm looking at Joseph. It turns out his name is Joseph. And
Joseph from Nigeria,
Joseph?
not Eric from London.
Yes. I said, why did you do this? Why did you confess? Most scammers do not confess. And he said it was because he needed my forgiveness. I think he had some sort of spiritual awakening. I'm not sure what that was all about, but it's okay. And I realized that I needed to forgive me. I needed to forgive myself so that I could move on. But it's a very difficult thing to do.
Did you try to get your money back?
It's interesting. I have the binders, and I went to the FBI the next day with all of my documentation. And they said, Deb, unless you can get him here to the United States, there's nothing we can do for you.
Oh, my goodness.
And when I heard that, I just shut down. I said, I'm not going to tell anybody. I was ashamed. I was guilty. I was vulnerable. I was so upset. And, you know,
Were you
it was awful.
all the things you're feeling are being felt by many others. You just told me you had 3 women contact you this week. Online romance scams are so common. Just put some numbers on this. The FTC estimates $143 million was lost last year from people getting duped.
There's probably a lot more because most people don't talk.
Exactly.
And that's the thing. People do not want to be vulnerable enough to say, I got duped.
Exactly.
And their families, get upset. Their friends get upset.
What's the
They say
first
you're
step?
stupid.
If you've been scammed this way, what do you do?
I think the most important step is to actually tell your family and friends, the people who love you, because you're going to need them. And as you go through all the next steps of protecting yourself financially, calling the police, blocking the contact with the person so he can't reach you again, you're going to need your friends and family. That support system, I think, is vital, actually. Because the emotions you go through and the range of emotions and the devastation, it can be paralyzing, actually.
It's huge, too, because most police stations and law enforcement don't know how to deal with a victim in this
And they blow
case.
you off.
And they blow you off. They make you feel really bad. A woman told me that the other day, because we encourage people to report, just so the numbers are there. And she said, Deb, I walked out of that feeling like I was this
Worse.
big.
Yeah.
And I will never talk to anybody again. And that's the trouble.
I hear this all the time.
Yeah.
They
Let's
go
cha-
in thinking they're going to get help and they come out feeling worse.
Let's change that. This season is all about the power of one, of each and every one of us to make a difference. So you have the power to report these crimes, or get your friends who've been conned to report them. You can go to droz.com for a link directly to the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint form. Anybody can fill that form out to report or prevent other victims from taken advantage of. Our LoveCon expert, Benita Alexander, has the top 3 ways you can spot a scammer, and it could help someone close to you, maybe even you. Stay with us. Be sure to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss anything. And remember to check back often to see what's new.